Tonight, Herman Cain reassesses his White House run after allegations of a 13-year affair. Dean Reynolds is with the Cain campaign, and Nancy Cordes talks to a surging rival, Newt Gingrich.
Do you think all of these stories, one on top of another, disqualify Herman Cain?
It's official. Texas is suffering the worst drought in more than 100 years. Anna Werner says relief is a long way off. Michael Jackson's doctor is sentenced and scolded by an angry judge. Ben Tracy's at the courthouse. And an anniversary to remember. Wounded vets call it Alive Day. You'll see why in a David Martin interview.
Was that the worst day of your life?
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
Good evening. Herman Cain tonight is considering whether to go forward with his campaign for the Republican nomination for president, just 5 weeks out now from the first voting in Iowa. After an allegation of an extramarital affair yesterday, Cain held a conference call today with key people in his campaign. A transcript of the call was released by the publication National Review. We've got a team of correspondents covering the race, beginning with Dean Reynolds with the Cain campaign in Michigan tonight. Dean?
Scott, Herman Cain is supposed to give a speech here at Hillsdale College tonight on foreign policy, but what a lot of people are wondering is whether his campaign can survive this latest scandal. In a conference call with supporters today, Herman Cain acknowledged the accusation of a long-term extramarital affair could end his run for the presidency. We have to do an assessment as to whether or not this is going to create too much of a cloud, he said, in some people's minds, as to whether or not they would be able to support us going forth. Cain told supporters the allegations have, quote, taken a toll on my wife and family, as you would imagine, unquote. The charge, Ginger White told an Atlanta television station she had a 13-year affair with Cain that ended just earlier this year.
It was pretty simple. It wasn't complicated. And I was aware that he was married, and I was also aware that I was involved in a very inappropriate situation.
White backed up her accusation with cell phone records and showed a book with Cain's personal inscription. Friends are forever, it said. Everything else is a bonus. In today's conference call, Cain said it was nothing more than a long friendship. I deny those charges unequivocally, he said. I have been attempting to help her financially because she was out of work and destitute, desperate. White says she met Cain while he was head of the National Restaurant Association. While in that position, 4 other women say that he sexually harassed them. Cain called the harassment allegations baseless. Yesterday, he also denied the affair.
Was this an affair?
No, it was not.
There was no sex?
No.
While the campaign presses ahead, Cain's approval rating and his financing have started to slide. And Scott, what could be an interesting clue is that a group of top-level journalists were supposed to meet with Cain on Sunday in New York, but that meeting has now been canceled.
Dean, thank you very much. For Cain, it has been a sharp rise followed by a quick drop. Take a look at the numbers in the Quinnipiac University polls. In September, his support was 5%, but by early November, it was up to 30%. But the sexual harassment allegations brought him back to earth. Who benefits most? Well, look at Newt Gingrich in green. From 3% in September, he has shot straight up to 26%. In some polls, Newt Gingrich now leads Mitt Romney. Nancy Cordes caught up with Gingrich today in a state that he considers a must-win, South Carolina. Nancy?
And Scott, he's doing very well in South Carolina, beating Romney by 11 points, according to a new poll out today. And that is notable because no Republican presidential candidate has won the nomination in the past 30 years without winning the South Carolina primary first.
You're going to be the president.
That's nice.
May I shake your hand?
If Newt Gingrich is surprised by his rapid rise, he's not saying.
I'm gratified. I'm not surprised. We're a little further ahead than I thought we'd be at this stage.
The former House Speaker, who is from neighboring Georgia, opened his 5th campaign office in South Carolina today, adding staff in a bid to pick up votes being shed by his fellow Georgian, Herman Cain. Diane Brinkman of Bluffton is a recent convert.
I've always liked Newt, I've been worried about some of his baggage.
She's talking about his ethics reprimand for breaking House financial rules when he was Speaker of the House, and about his 3 marriages, which may not play well with the 55% of South Carolina Republicans who consider themselves evangelicals.
What's your message to South Carolina social conservatives who might have concerns about your marital history?
I tell them the truth, which is that I had problems in my life. I had to go to God and ask for forgiveness and seek reconciliation.
1, 2, 3.
The 68-year-old Gingrich says he is raising more than $160,000 a day, more than he did in all of July when his campaign was so broke and so behind that most of his top staffers deserted him. His new frontrunner status emboldened Gingrich to go after his main Republican rival, Mitt Romney, on a Charleston radio show.
It's wrong to go around and adopt radically different positions based on your need of any one election.
Are you saying he's a liar?
No, I'm saying that you ought to have a long-term philosophy that you try to think through.
Gingrich calls himself the conservative alternative to Romney, vowing to close the U.S.-Mexico border by 2014. And he says he's not counting Cain out quite yet.
Do you think all of these stories, one on top of another, disqualify Herman Cain?
No, he's not. No one's disqualified. Remember, I was supposed to be dead in June and July. I am not going to go around and declare anybody else dead.
Gingrich claims to be the most electable candidate, even though polls show Romney faring much better in a head-to-head matchup with the president than Gingrich does. But Gingrich argues that it's all going to come down to the debates and that he is better suited, Scott, to go up against the president in that arena.
Nancy, thank you. Mitt Romney chose to sidestep Gingrich today, casting himself instead as the presumptive winner of the nomination. Jan Crawford is with the Romney campaign in Tampa. Jan?
Well, Scott, for months on the campaign trail and here today in Florida, Mitt Romney has stayed on message. He is running against Barack Obama, and he's the man who can beat him.
I watch our president. Almost everything he did was the exact opposite of what our country needed to get going again.
The Obama campaign is taking notice of Mitt Romney. The Democratic Party is targeting the former Massachusetts governor in emails and television ads.
I will preserve and protect a woman's right to choose.
The right next step is to see Roe v. Wade overturned.
The Democratic National Committee is airing that ad in key battleground states, hoping to sow seeds of doubt about Romney. Polls show that of all the Republican candidates, he would be President Obama's toughest challenge.
They don't want to see me as the nominee, that's for sure. It shows that they're awfully afraid of facing me in the general election.
Romney is doing his best to ignore former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, the man who is beating him in some polls. Gingrich now is accusing Romney of flipping positions, saying he is the true conservative, appealing to Republicans who want anyone but Romney. Now, of course, Romney is pushing back. He has said Gingrich is just too liberal on things like immigration. But the question is, with Gingrich's rise, is Romney going to be able to keep his focus on President Obama, or is he going to have to turn his attention to his Republican rival?
A very good question, Jan. Thank you very much. Is the new allegation against Cain having any effect on the campaign? Well, here is John Dickerson, our CBS News political director. John?
It is having an effect. In New Hampshire, 2 state representatives have dropped their support for Cain and moved over to Gingrich. I talked to one of them, Will Panic, state representative. He said at first he wanted to give Cain the benefit of the doubt, but once he saw these texts and these emails, he said he just had enough. He said the sexual harassment claims were tough enough to support him, but with this affair allegation, his own supporters, the representative said, couldn't support him if he stuck behind Cain. So he's moved on. He says also at the end, it's not just about the affair, it's about the handling of it. He said, you don't want to call it a lie, but clearly that's pretty much what he thought it was.
If Cain bows out, who benefits most?
Gingrich benefits. Most strategists I talked to today say that line that we had in the graphic will continue for Gingrich, but it's not a clean transference. Cain's message was, I'm not of Washington, I'm not a politician. Gingrich is both of those things. Mitt Romney might benefit a little because he's a businessman, and that was a key Cain appeal.
John, thank you very much. There is some financial news tonight that will bear watching tomorrow. This evening, Standard & Poor's lowered the credit rating on some of this country's biggest banks. Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, and Wells Fargo. S&P says the changes reflect a new formula for determining risk. American Airlines, once the nation's largest carrier, filed for bankruptcy today. The airline filed so that it can reorganize and break expensive labor contracts. American is actually the last old line carrier to do it. The list of airline bankruptcies reads like the arrival board at an airport. Look at the last 2 decades. Before American, there were Delta, Northwest, U.S. Airways, United, TWA, Pan Am. 16 in all, some of them twice. Mark Strassman tells us what today's bankruptcy means for American, its employees, and its passengers.
American Airlines passengers will notice little change. Same flight schedule, same frequent flyer program. But bankruptcy will be a rough landing for thousands of the carrier's employees.
There's no way to create a rosy picture out of this.
Tom Hoban, an American co-pilot and union rep, expects major hits to his paycheck and pension.
The airline will come out leaner and meaner. What about the unions such as yours? I mean, how will you come out of this? It's going to be a very difficult process for everybody, the pilots and all the employees. I mean, it's personally and professionally devastating.
American claims its labor costs are $800 million higher than its major competitors, most of which have already restructured themselves through bankruptcy. But 5 years of negotiating with its unions has gone nowhere. Bankruptcy will squeeze more concessions from those unions. Thomas Horton is American's new CEO.
Our cost disadvantage to the rest of the industry has been quite large and has been growing. We viewed that, and our board viewed that, as untenable.
During the last 2 years, American was losing money while the rest of the industry was profitable. Soaring fuel prices have also battered American's bottom line. The airline has older, less fuel-efficient jets. In July, American ordered 460 new planes, the largest order in industry history. Darrell Jenkins, an industry analyst, heads the American Aviation Institute.
Their debt will be pushed down, their operating costs will be pushed down, so when they emerge, they'll be making money again.
Scott, American still has $4 billion in cash on hand, so the airline can pay its bills. And again, for the short term at least, passengers should see no disruption in service. But down the road, American's new CEO said today that unprofitable routes could be dropped.
Mark, thank you very much. We were digging into this story today, and our research people came up with an amazing fact about the airlines. If you take the net profits of all U.S. airlines going back to 1951, collectively, they've lost $34 billion. In other words, the entire airline industry hasn't made a nickel throughout its history. In Los Angeles, Michael Jackson's doctor is accused of medicine madness at his sentencing. Iranian protesters storm the British embassy in Tehran. And the Texas drought, worst in more than 100 years, when the CBS Evening News continues. Michael Jackson's doctor got the maximum sentence today, 4 years for involuntary manslaughter for causing the singer's death. Conrad Murray was given an opportunity to speak. He remained silent, but the judge filled the void with anger. Here's Ben Tracy.
Dr. Murray engaged in a recurring, continuous pattern of deceit, of lies.
Judge Michael Pastor delivered a scathing rebuke of Dr. Conrad Murray.
He engaged in this money for medicine madness that is simply not going to be tolerated by me.
He called Murray a disgrace to his profession and seemed disgusted that Murray never showed remorse for giving Michael Jackson the powerful anesthetic propofol. Murray claims Jackson demanded the drug that ultimately killed him.
It hurt, you know? It hurt.
The judge implied that Murray made this iPhone recording of a drugged Michael Jackson so he could later use it as blackmail.
That tape recording was Dr. Murray's insurance policy.
Do you feel justice was served? Members of the Jackson family did not speak in court. Their attorney, Brian Panish, read a statement.
We respectfully request that you impose a sentence that reminds physicians that they cannot sell their services to the highest bidder.
Dr. Murray was offered $150,000 per month to treat Jackson, but was never paid. Murray declined to speak before being sentenced and blew a kiss as he left the courtroom. Murray's attorney, J. Michael Flanagan, said he was not surprised the judge gave Murray the maximum sentence.
I think the judge probably wanted to hear from him too, but then I think the judge just would have belittled whatever he had to say.
Now, despite the 4-year sentence, Dr. Murray will likely serve 2 years at most, and that's because of overcrowding here in California. During that time, he will be kept separate from the general population, Scott, and that's because he's a high-profile inmate.
End of a 2-year saga. Thank you, Ben. The White House is condemning today's storming of the British embassy in Tehran. Dozens of Iranian students trashed offices there for hours. The attack came after Britain said it was joining the U.S. in imposing new sanctions against Iran over its nuclear program. In Texas, even Christmas looks different during a drought. That story is next. Today, the drought in Texas was declared the worst in a century across nearly the whole state. The drought ranges from severe to exceptional. It's expected to last into next summer, and Anna Werner says the damage could go on for years.
At the Mainstay Farm, south of Fort Worth, owner Mariana Wilson still takes school kids on hay rides. They can run a maze or cook marshmallows. What they can't do this year is watch someone cut down a fresh Christmas tree.
How'd that compare to last year? Well, you're going to lose trees from year to year, but no, it was bad.
Normally, these fields would be filled with customers cutting their own Christmas trees. But this year, the farm lost a quarter of its trees. 1,500 trees like this one that died in the drought.
And when you turn on an oven, you know, for how many, 80, 90 days that we had dry, it's like baking anything that's outside.
This is basically off the charts. Based on past history, you wouldn't expect to see happen in maybe 500 or 1,000 years.
John Nielsen Gammon is a climatologist for the state of Texas.
Just one more year, we're already talking about probably a drought more severe than anything we've ever had. This will become, for them, the drought of record.
The weather phenomenon known as La Niña is expected to continue to keep rain away from Texas. The impact will be felt for years to come. Already, damage to agriculture is more than $5 billion, as ranchers are forced to sell off cattle they can't feed. The state's reservoirs are 40% below normal, and communities like Groesbeck, Texas, may run out of water within weeks.
Some trees make it and some don't.
To replace the trees she lost, Farmer Wilson shipped in extra Fraser firs from North Carolina, and she's planting more of a drought-resistant strain of Christmas trees. She says they grow well in this climate. They're from Arizona. Anna Werner, CBS News, Cleburne, Texas.
Sales have dried up for a famous American brand. Steuben has been creating beautiful glassware since 1903. Today, the company shut its factory in Corning, New York. The only Steuben store in New York City will close after liquidating its inventory. A special day for wounded veterans. They call it Alive Day. You'll find out why next. There are a few dates most of us never forget. Our birthday, a wedding anniversary, and if you're a veteran wounded in battle, you remember your Alive Day, the day you didn't die. David Martin introduces us to a couple of vets who have a lot to celebrate.
The Cools household in the suburbs of Maryland is as full of life as any young family, from breakfast straight through to coloring. But there is also terrible, irreplaceable loss.
The blast took my right arm and left leg, and then also the two guys in the truck with me were lost in that attack.
But you were the only one that survived?
I was.
It happened in Iraq on November 29th, 2005, 6 years ago today, when a roadside bomb hit his vehicle.
For me, it's a very bittersweet day because it's a day where I didn't die, and it's a day where two of my guys did die.
Two of his soldiers, Jerry Mills and Donald Hassey, were lost to their families. Ryan Cools lived to start a family. All three of Ryan and Nancy's children were conceived after he was wounded. That's why he calls today his Alive Day, a term he first heard from Jim Mayer, who had both his legs blown off 42 years ago in Vietnam and awoke to find a pretty nurse standing by his bed.
She comes over and starts talking to me. She says, "What are you going to do, soldier, when you go home?" I said, "Ma'am, if I live, I'm going to have a party every year on April 25th, and I'm going to call it my Alive Day."
If you read the Doonesbury comic strip, you know Mayer as the Milkshake Man. He's been delivering them to the hospital rooms of the wounded ever since the first war with Iraq in 1991.
Did he bring you a milkshake?
He brought me a milkshake. I always requested vanilla.
It's an icebreaker. It's something to kid around with, learn what flavors they like, and then start talking and listening.
He always told us about the kind of the importance of the Alive Day, and kind of joked around with his story.
The whole concept of turning it around and making it a Alive Day, to a certain extent, the more severe your injuries, the more thankful you are that you actually are alive.
Was that the worst day of your life?
That's a hard question. My injury and the things that I've done since my injury have made me who I am, and we are in a better place because of it.
Chores to do around the house, sights to show the kids. That's what Alive Day means to Ryan Cools. David Martin, CBS News, Severna Park, Maryland.
And that's the CBS Evening News for tonight. For all of us at CBS News all around the world, good night.